From charming sisters that lure girls to their ruin, to twisted families raised in hate, these families did utterly unspeakable things. Up first are the Marcus brothers. The Marcus brothers were peculiar people. They were twin gynecologists, and after both suffering badly in love, they moved in together, where it seems their mental health deteriorated heavily. It's unknown if they were already hoarders, they likely were, but when they were discovered deceased in their shared apartment, it was so clogged with trash and newspapers, it was nearly lethal to the people trying to clean it. It seems the brothers almost mentally consumed each other, sharing everything and blurring the line between their differentiation. From substances to jobs to women, everything was shared. It seems they also had some sort of pact with one another, as 2 days after Stuart Marcus passed of some sort of chemical cause, his brother Cyril passed of the same. It wouldn't be until the smell permeated the building that anyone even knew. Next are Raya and Sakina. Raya and Sakina were sisters living in Alexandria, Egypt, and with their husbands and 2 other men, ran a horrifying ring that led to the ending of 17 women. They would take girls who didn't have much family to remember them, fill them with substances, and then when they were worn out, they would be robbed and discarded. The horrifying discovery of the remains beneath Raya and Sakina's home led to the capture of all parties involved. It is interesting though that we only really remember the names of the sisters and not their husbands and accomplices. Next are the Papin Sisters. Leah and Christine were born into destitute poverty and were separated at a young age to be live-in maids for powerful Parisians to help support their parents. After several years being separated, they were finally rejoined working for the Lancelin family. However, the mother and daughter of the family soon began to bully, belittle, and harm the sisters, eventually leading to the mother attacking one. Initially acting in self-defense, the Papin sisters lashed out viciously and left a horrific crime scene, and mother and daughter deceased. They would be discovered just hours later, cuddling together in bed, covered in viscera. Next are the Gonzalez sisters. Maria Delfina, Maria del Carmen, Maria Luisa, and Maria were 4 sisters who ran a ring called the Rancho El Angel. Their business model was essentially that of Raya and Sakina. Find women with few or no connections, get them hopelessly hooked on destructive substances, and use them mercilessly to earn cash until they're completely worn out, after which they would be discarded. They would also end rich clients who entered the building with a lot of money. In all, the 4 sisters would be charged and convicted on the endings of 91 people over the span of 14 years. Next are the Briley Brothers. Linwood Earl, Anthony Ray, and J.B. Briley were a trio of brothers who went on a vicious crime spree that lasted 7 months and ended the lives of at least 11 people. They used every single implement they could think of, deriving joy from finding newer and more horrifying ways of removing someone's soul. The brothers would be arrested along with an accomplice, and though 2 managed to break out, they were soon sentenced to the chair. Anthony and their accomplice Meeks are the only ones still alive and are guaranteed to spend the rest of their lives in prison. Next is the Bender family. Very little is known about the Benders. Made up of Father John, wife Elvira, and sibling spouses John Jr. and Kate, the family lived in Labette County, Kansas for 8 months and then vanished. In those 8 months, they pretended to run an inn and snatch travelers from the side of the road, ending the lives of at the very least 11 people. Eventually, all of these people going missing had family that looked into their whereabouts, and after a very close call with angry family members searching for answers, the Benders all but vanished. Some say they were set upon by a mob and received justice. Others say they escaped into the wind to hunt again. Nothing definitive has ever been proven. Next are Fred and Rose West. Fred and Rose were about as sick and twisted as could be. Fred was already a serial hunter, having ended and hurt several people. Then he met Rose, and they meshed in the worst way possible. Together they would end at least 12 more people, including Fred's own offspring, over the course of 20 years. Eventually they would be captured, but Fred couldn't handle the punishment and took the easy way out, while Rose is still in prison and will never be set free. Next are the Amazons. Led by Inessa Tarverdieva, the Amazons were a family of serial hunters that lived in Stavropol, Russia, and managed to stay uncaught and active for 15 years. Which actually means the youngest member was raised into the family of crime. They would send a confirmed 30 people to the afterlife, including 6 cops, and nearly every crime was motivated by the same desire: money. Next is the Bean Clan. The Bean Clan may not have even existed. It may be just an anti-Scottish piece of propaganda from the old times. Or maybe they were real. For the sake of the story, I'll tell you the very worst version. Allegedly led by Sawney Bean, the Bean Clan was made up of him and an alleged witch, Black Agnes Douglas. Together, they hid in a cave by the side of the road and survived by stealing travelers off of the path and turning them into nutritious meals. The Bean Clan would expand to allegedly 45 people, and they weren't exactly welcoming in outsiders. They allegedly built their clan entirely internally, and I'll let your imagination run wild on that. And finally, Genghis Khan's clan. It shouldn't come as a surprise that as far as destructive, unhinged, and scandalous family goes, Genghis and his offspring definitely are near the top. Just to list all the horrors and atrocities committed during his invasion of China alone would take hours, not to mention the invasions of Korea, Persia, Eastern Europe, and Russia. Genghis ended 40 million lives during his conquest alone. The only thing that rivaled his love of destruction was his love of procreation, and not to get too into the weeds, but it definitely wasn't nice, him being a conquering warlord and all. It's estimated some 16 million men are related to Genghis today, and an unknown number of women. Those were scandalous families in history that did unspeakable things. I hope you found this valuable, and I'll see you next time.